Hi, I hope you're having a nice afternoon. It's a Saturday afternoon. Okay, so today I'm welcome to my extra class, okay, for Form 5 Biology. I'm covering chapter 9 today. We're still at 9.1, but we're the last part of 9.1. Okay, so today we're going to look at a very special ecosystem, which is called the mangrove ecosystem. Actually, you have seen this part of the lesson before. In chapter 7, we did something like different adaptation. Remember, we had 3 types of condition where we have a group of plants called xerophytes, then halophytes and mesophytes. So this is actually a little bit more detailed. Okay, now first of all, let me check the comment chat here. Chat. Okay, right, girls. Hi, girls. Right, Ke, Min Yin, and Yumin. Hi, good afternoon. Okay, hi, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me well? Well and good. Please type in the chat there. So today we are going to finish with 9.1. We still haven't finished the whole chapter yet. This is actually, you've seen this part before, but we need a bit more detail. Okay, you refer back to your form for chapter 7. We learn about 3 types of different adaptations, which is plants that live in the dry area, which is they're called xerophytes. Then plants that live in a swampy area, a very high salinity area, which is the halophytes, and also the normal types, the plants that normally have the majority of the plants, we are called the mesophytes. Okay, so today we're going to zero in on the halophytes. These are the plants which live in very high salty conditions. Special example, it will be the mangrove mangrove ecosystem. Okay, right, girls. Yes. Okay, good. I can hear. You can hear me well. All right. So let's go straight to the lesson. All right. Today's lesson, I think, will be quite short because we have seen some of the lesson before, but the adaptation. So for today's lesson, you have to make sure you know how to write the points for adaptation. Okay, what are the features and how this helps the plant to survive where they do. Okay, where they are. So let's look at this. All right, okay, so this is the mangrove ecosystem. Now, this is from your textbook, right? Page 185. So first of all, let's look at the abiotic components and the biotic components. So as you learned earlier, abiotic components are those components which are not living. So you will see the conditions of the conditions of the environment where these mangrove trees live. They live in swampy areas, and where are they found? They are at what call in BM we say kuala sungai. Okay, kuala sungai in English we call it estuary. You see this word here? All right, learn a new word. And most of you may not know the word here. Estuary means kuala. Okay, what is a kuala? A kuala is a meeting place where the river meets the sea. Okay, so if you can draw, let's say, this is the river. The river comes from inland, right? This is the river. As it goes further or nearer to the sea, it becomes wider and wider. So this is called the estuary. Oh, sorry, what happened here? Yeah. Now this is the sea. All right, this is the sea. So this is called the estuary. Okay, estuary. Kuala sungai. In BM, I think you're more used to the BM word. Okay, kuala. Kuala is the mouth of the river. So in other words, estuary means the mouth of the river, where the place where the river meets the sea. Okay, where the river will meet the sea. So this is called the kuala sungai, mouth of the river. And usually these areas, they are swampy. That means the soil is soft and it's wet. All right, and then it's the area could be a high salinity. That means high salt, because the river brings in all the all the soil and all the nutrients that are the minerals that are dissolved there. So it brings it all the way down to the bottom of the river and it meets the sea. So this is the estuary. Let's look at abiotic conditions there. All right, at the kuala sungai, this is what you have. All right, there will be waves. It is exposed to wave from the sea, and also water tides. Water tides is the time of the day. You see, when one day you have the water will rise up to the top, and then at night the water will go down, isn't it? So there's a rising of the tide and the we call it receding of the tide. Okay, in Huayi we say 涨潮. That means the water comes up to the beach very high. Yeah, that's usually in the daytime. And at night, the water will recede. The sea will move away from the beach. That's called the tide, low tide. All right. And at the river mouth here, you have soft, muddy soil, and it lacks aeration. Aeration means in BM we say pengudaraan, means oxygen. So it lacks oxygen. Lacks aeration means it lacks oxygen. Very low oxygen content in the soil. And then it's exposed to strong wind. Okay. So at the river mouth here, there could be strong winds coming from the sea. Okay, and another condition here is high salt content. Okay, you have seen all this before. If you refer back to your notes in chapter 7, okay, your adaptation of plants. Okay, right, girls. Okay, I can see you there. Right. So this is high salt content or high salinity. Salinity means the salt. Saltness means the saltiness. Salinity just means saltiness. And then it's also exposed to strong light intensity. It means very sunlight. It's very, very bright and it's quite hot over there as well. Okay, so strong winds, strong sunlight, okay, strong wind that's blowing, and lack of oxygen. And you have many cases where the seeds of these plants, they will start to germinate when it's still attached to the parent. This one we've seen it before in chapter 7. We call it vivipary or viviparous. The seed will start to germinate even though it has not detached from the parent plant. So this is an adaptation to help it to give a head start so that it will not be washed away by the tides, and it will also it will easier to grow. Okay, so these are the conditions in the mangrove swamp. Okay, then you will see here, now these are the biotic components. So in the mangrove ecosystem, you will see this kind of organisms. Okay, you will have, of course, decomposers. Okay, decomposers will be those bacteria and the fungus, or the saprophytic bacteria and the fungus in the soil, in the mud, in the sand, right? Not sand, it's actually most of it mud. Okay, you have monkeys, right? Different types of monkey. You have snake, mud skipper. Okay, I show you a picture, mud skipper, horseshoe crab, right? Crabs, because it's muddy, so crabs, they live in the mud. Mangrove trees and mushroom and stork. Okay, you will see on my thumbnail today, the picture there, you'll see the stork there with the mud skipper and all that. So these animals are found at the mangrove area. Okay, let's look at this. Mangrove area are found along sheltered coastal beaches. Coastal means near the sea. Coastal is beach, in other words. Okay, and it has big estuaries, kuala sungai. So estuary is the that means it's the mouth of the river, where the river meets the sea. Okay, so that usually it brings with it a lot of dissolved minerals, so it could be salty there. Okay, so what are the biotic components? Now you need to remember the names. Okay, so this is essential. The species of the mangrove plants, you have to remember 4 names. Avicennia, okay, this is missing an N, Avicennia, species. Avicennia is called pokok bakau api-api. Soneraceae alba is the species name. So on Soneraceae species, pokok bakau perepat, and Rhizophora, pokok bakau minyak. Okay, now I'll show you the picture afterwards. Terrestrial primary consumer. Okay, terrestrial means they are on the ground. They are, we call it land animals. They are called terrestrial. Primary consumer. So these are the animals that eat the plants. So example would be birds and the monkeys. They eat the fruits and the mangrove trees, mangrove leaves. Okay. Then you also have aquatic primary consumers. The consumers that live in the water and also the mud, like crab, snails, clams, and mud skipper. Okay, let me show you the pictures. And also you have other higher order, all right, on the heterophyte level. These are the organisms that eat the crab, eat the snail, and the clams. You have monitor lizard, you have snakes, you have otters, you have crocodile. Okay, I'll give you some pictures, right? First of all, let's look at Avicennia. Now, Avicennia will be something like this. You will see that the plant, quite a lot of leaves, and you can see very distinct from Avicennia, it has got special roots that poke out from the soil. See all this? See the roots that poke out here? It's very difficult for you to go into the area because you can't step on it. It's like nails, you see? All these are actually special roots. We call it breathing roots. Okay, we call it pneumatophores. So this is Avicennia, all right? And the root special structures, they are called pneumatophores. Then you look at Sonoracea. Okay, Sonoracea will be slightly different, all right? It's a different species, but it will also have its pneumatophores. You can see here. Where is it? Let me make it bigger. Yeah, you can see also all these things jutting out. These are to help the roots to get oxygen because the soil there is actually very muddy. So when it's muddy, it's very lacking in the oxygen content. So that means the roots are not getting enough oxygen. So they have special structures that poke out of the soil or of the mud there, and it has got special holes there, pores called lenticel. So the oxygen can move in, the air can move in. So that's how they get their supply of oxygen. Okay, you can also see that there are a lot of this, pneumatophores sticking out of the mud. And that is Sonoracea. Okay, let me show you Rhizophora. You see Avicennia and Sonoracea, you have all this we call pneumatophores sticking up, all right, sticking out of the mud there to help them get oxygen. Now, for Rhizophora, it's quite distinct. You can see that the Rhizophora has this kind of roots. This kind of roots are called prop roots. They help to give support to the plant. So it increases the base area so that the plant is stable. Okay, the reason is because the soil is very soft. Okay, as you know, this is mud. Swampy areas are all muddy. So if you do not have good grip on the soil, good support, the whole plant can just topple over when the wind blows. Okay, so you have prop roots. This is Rhizophora apiculata roots. Okay. Then another species you need to remember is Bruguera. Bruguera, just remember the genus name enough. No need to remember the species name. So you just need to remember Avicennia, Sonoracea, Bruguera, and Rhizophora. Remember the four names and the distinctive features. So for here, you can see that the roots here are very, we call it buttress roots. They are bulging and they look like knobs, knobs. It's just like one big bulging knob from the here. Okay, this is called knee roots. It looks like lutut, lutut is your knee, so we call it knee. Okay, knee roots. Okay, it looks like we call it akar lutut in BM lah. Alright, so it's called buttress roots. Buttress. So this also helps to give support because it increases the base area. Okay, to give more support to the plant. All right. So now these are the pictures. Now let's look at the animals that you have there. I'm sure you know how a crab looks like, right? This is a crab. This is a clam. Clam is like the lala, right? Of course, lala is only one type. Sometimes the shape is different. Lala is a bit flat, right? It's a bit oval shape and a little bit flat. Then you have other shapes that are a bit rounder and fatter. So it's generally called clam. You have snail here. This is a mud skipper. They have special adaptations, you see. They are able to, even though they are considered a kind of fish, they have the fins which are adapted to be able to, they can crawl, not to say crawl, they pull themselves onto the mud. So they're able to move their fin and they sort of can glide on the mud there. So they're able to move by, pulling themselves on the mud. So they call it mud skipper. They sort of like skip on the mud. They call it mud skipper. And they have adaptations. Their lungs are, even though they're not in the water all the time, they're able to absorb the oxygen from the air because the lungs have the special, the gills have special adaptation. They're able to draw oxygen from the air into their gills here. Okay, so there's special adaptations. So they're able to live, they don't have to be in the water all the time. They can be in the mud and sometimes out of the mud. They can be skipping on the mud. Okay, then monitor lizard. I can see this. We hate all this. I hate this. This is called 四脚蛇, okay, or a four-legged snake. In the Cantonese, we call it four-legged snake. So monitor lizard, we call it biawa. Okay, so you will have that, and they will feed on all these mud skipper, the snail, with all these animals. So they are pretty much on top of the food chain over there in the mangrove swamp. Okay. Then of course you have alligator, right? Alligator, no need for me to draw to give you a picture like crocodile, alligator. And different, actually it's different. We call it crocodile here. Now this is an otter, right? But this one may not be the same otter we have in mangrove. This one is overseas. These otters are very special animals. They're able to float on their back while they are lying on the back, not floating there. So they make excellent, they hunt small animals, right? They live in watery, these rivers and so on. Okay, otters. Memerang, I think you call it in BM, memerang. Okay, so these are the biotic components in mangrove swamp. All right, so we have covered what are the species. Please remember the names: Avicennia, Sonarachia, Rhizophora, Bruguera. Start to remember the 4 specific names. Okay, it will come in handy because you need to talk about the adaptation later. Okay, now let's look at the abiotic components. We've gone through that just now. Abiotic components, what do they have over there? They have the conditions here is light intensity, which is high. You have high water salinity, very salty. Okay, and then so the plants there will have to have special adaptations. So let's look at adaptations. Okay, look at one by one. We have seen that already. Now here, when you talk about adaptations, don't forget, when you talk about adaptations, you always talk writing the answers for adaptation. Please remember to write your F and your E. I hope you know what it means. I keep on stressing it every time. F is your feature. What is it that they have? E is the explanation on how this feature helps them to overcome the problem. Okay, so let's say the problem here, let's say look at the problem first. The problem here is number 1, okay, muddy soil. It's soft and it's muddy. So that's the problem. So how is this plant going to overcome this problem of soft, muddy soil? So when it's soft, that means there's no support. Okay, so that is the problem. So many plants are not able to live there, except for mangrove trees. So mangrove tree has special adaptation. So first of all, you need to have extensive root system. So this root system must be able to spread out. Okay, this root system is spreading out. We call it aerial roots, and they anchor the plant to the and it gives support. Okay, so I think there are pictures here. Where's the picture to show you? I think it was in the previous example. Here now. Okay, here this is widely branched trees, roots of the Avicennia and Sonarachia. So you have cable roots. This will help to anchor the plant firmly, so they do not, they're able to get some grip now. Okay, so they get a lot of support. Okay, that is the support part. Let's come back to here. Okay, so underground cable root. Okay, so this is the area root, also cable root. All right, and for Rhizophora, you have prop roots. So do not mix up. Avicennia has cable root, Rhizophora has prop roots, and Bruguera has the what they call the buttress roots. You do not interchange that. Rhizophora is this one, the prop roots. Okay, and for Bruguera, it is the buttress roots. Okay, so what about this one? Lacking oxygen. The soil is muddy, so it's lacking oxygen. How do you overcome this problem? You need to have special breathing roots. Okay, these roots are called pneumatophore. So this is the F. What does it do? It enables gaseous exchange to take place because it allows oxygen to move in through the lenticels. So here the picture is, these are the lenticels. Now this is the pneumatophore. All right, you have holes here. So the holes here will be able to allow oxygen to diffuse into, or air to diffuse into it. Okay. Where are we? Okay, sorry. Right, let's go back. So at each adaptation, you have to give the F and the E, right? Each problem. And then lenticel, there you go. Lenticel absorb atmospheric oxygen. Okay, next problem. The soil is very salty, high salinity or high salt content. So one of the ways to overcome is the sap cell of the root of the plant. That means the root cells of this mangrove tree is actually, the concentration of the salt is even higher than the soil. It has a higher osmotic pressure. That means higher salt content. It's even saltier than the soil or the mangrove the soil. So it has higher osmotic pressure. That means the water from the outside, from the soil, can still move inside. So the water, even though you say it's salty but it's still not as salty compared to the root cell of the plant. So that means the water, the salt water, right, is actually still hypotonic. whereas the cell, the root hair cell, is hypertonic. So they still are able to get water. Water will still diffuse into the root hair cell through osmosis. Okay, so that's your F and that's your E. Then what about having too much salt in the cell? So they have to remove it. They have special structures called hydatodes. Okay, hydatodes, you learned that already. There's special little structures at the leaves, right? At the epidermis of the leaves, the lower epidermis, to able to produce, excrete, or we call it to remove the salt. Okay, the salt will actually come out through the hydatodes. And one more feature, how to remove salt, is when the leaves fall off. When the leaves are old, they will die eventually, and whatever mineral that's inside the leaf, okay, it drops off. So that's how they excrete. Okay, that's how they excrete the excessive salt, by dropping the leaf, and the leaf is already old and dead. Okay, so next one, about strong sunlight, extreme heat. So it's very hot and it's very, very bright. Okay, there's a lot of sunlight there. It's very extreme, exposed to a lot of sunlight. So it has to be, it's quite drying. Okay, so because a lot of sunlight, your transpiration rate is very high, transpiration rate. So how to prevent transpiration rate, or not to prevent, you have to reduce by having thick cuticle. So the leaves have a layer of thick cuticle. Okay, that's F. To reduce transpiration is the E. Okay, to make sure that the water does not evaporate so much. And another adaptation, some of the leaves are thick and succulent. Succulent means it is thick and juicy. Okay, so we normally say when we drink something, it's called juicy, or the fruit is juicy. Okay, we talk about leaves now, that means it's inside there, like the cells that are a bit spongy, is able to store water. So we call it succulent, same meaning as spongy. Okay, can store water. And that is the adaptation, can store water. So this is the E. Storing water is the E. Succulent leaves is the F. Okay, then one more. So you see, if there's sand, the mud is very soft, right? If the seed drops from the parent tree, it can be embedded into the mud, and then it doesn't have a chance to grow. So what happens is, to overcome that, because once it drops into the mud, it will die of oxygen deficiency. It just get embedded inside. Okay, no chance to grow. So in order to prevent that, it will start growing even if it hasn't dropped from the tree yet, haven't dropped from the parent. So they call these seeds are called viviparous seed. So they have an adaptation of producing viviparous seeds. That means the seeds are able to germinate while they are still attached to the parent plant. That means no need to let the thing remove from the plant. It already start to grow. They have the root coming out already. So when they germinate, right, they will have a long radicle. The radicle is the root, right, which is already ready to absorb water. Then when it drops, when it releases, it's already able to grow right into the soil. Okay, this ensures the seeds obtain enough oxygen during germination, prevent the seeds from dehydration in the salty seawater, and also prevent the tide from washing it away, because it like embedded. I won't say embedded. It was like, it gets, because it's sharp, right? It just gets stuck into the soil and it doesn't get washed away by the tides. Okay, that point is in your textbook. All right, so here, over here, this point here, just add another one. Here, they will stick to the muddy soil. That means it doesn't get washed away. So this is how it looks like. You can see the radicle already coming out. Okay, now see the picture here. Here, this is the radicle. This is a radicle. This is a radicle. While it's still stuck. So this example will be the rhizophora. Rhizophora has got this one. So here you can see these are viviparous seeds. The radicle has already started coming out, while the plant is still attached to the parent. Okay, it's a special adaptation for some to overcome the problem of give it a better chance of survival. In other words, okay, easier for it to live. Okay, let's go on. Now we have the mangrove tree is best suited to stay in this area. Okay, so it's considered the best species because of all the adaptations are. Now, if we talk about a concept, sometimes you see when we come to an area that is bare means no trees, no plants, nothing. This usually happens when we clear the forest. Okay, let's say a company wants to start, let's say want to build an area, we call it build a maybe a kilang there, right? Somewhere there, you have to clear the forest, right? You pull out everything. So you got to remove everything. And once everything is clear, you find that the whole area, no plants, nothing, right? So this is a new area. So, but you will not stay bare forever. Any piece of land that is bare, kosong, right? Even you pull out everything, you cut down everything, it's just sand, let's say. It will not stay like that forever. There'll be one day whereby some opportunistic plant, that means a plant that is easy to grow, will find its way, or the seed will come, somehow maybe blown by the wind or something. Okay, it will blown by the wind, and then the seed gets to drop there, and you'll find something will start growing. So usually the first thing that start growing is usually grass. You know, this nut grass is very hardy. Hardy means they are easy to grow. Okay, and because they get carried by the wind, their seeds and all that, so it's easy to grow. All right, so you see, human activities, when we clear the forest, right? When we clear the forest, when we clear an area for mining, tin mining, right? Or maybe a forest fire. In Australia, you have, you know, so you have sometimes you have that last year you have this forest fire. That the fire just started because it was so hot and everything, right? It just started to burn and keep on burning, and they cleared the forest, so it's like empty. Everything is burned down, but it will not stay empty forever. There will come a time where some plant will be starting to grow there. Okay, so even tsunamis are able to clear the whole area. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, these are natural phenomena happening. So you will have area that is bare. Bare means kosong, right? You have rocks, you have sand, you have earth with no life lah. In the beginning, there's nothing there. In the beginning, there's no life. But it will not stay forever like that. There will come a time, maybe after a few months later, you go and see, you have some grass growing there. Okay, now this is called colonization. Colonization is the process whereby a plant will start to grow there, start to inhabit, inhabit is to stay. All right, you will find its way there. You see, nature is very, very, very funny. You know, if there is a will, there is a way. Somehow, some things will be able to, if the area is suitable for life, somehow you don't need to put any seed there. It will come, right? It will grow by itself. So you will have life there. So maybe some grass will start growing, okay? So that species, the first species that are able to stay there, previously there's nothing there, right? So that species is called a pioneer species. Pioneer species means the first one. The species that are able to grow there for the first time. Previously is nothing. No plant able to stay there. Okay, so the first plant species to occupy that place is called a pioneer species. And the process is called colonization. Colonization means you take hold of the whole place. You take over the place by yourself. Okay, so this process is called colonization. So colonization is a process of taking over and staying there. Okay, so colonization is a process. Colonization is a process. The colonizer is the plant. All right, you call it a pioneer plant. So usually there's some kind of grass. Okay, the grass are very easy to grow. So the pioneer was species. So let's say they stay there, right? The first species come and stay there. So now, actually, these plants, the first species that stay there, called, let's say, grass, they have special adaptations. So they are able to survive there because there are certain reasons. Maybe they don't need so much water. Okay, first of all, maybe the grass is very the land is very dry. No other plant can stay, but this grass can stay. But maybe it's because this grass doesn't need so much water. Okay, another thing, maybe it doesn't need so much nutrient, while other plants need nutrient. That's why they cannot stay. But this plant doesn't need so much nutrient, doesn't need so much water, so that's why they can stay. So they're very hardy. Okay, the word's hardy. Usually the pioneer species, they are very hardy. Hardy means tahan lasak. You know, in BM we say tahan lasak. That means in Cantonese we say it's not xiu jie. You know xiu jie. Xiu jie is all literally a little bit of sunlight also cannot take it. A little bit of hot also cannot take it. That's correct, xiu jie. So this hardy means they're very strong. All right, they can withstand winds, they can withstand heat, they can withstand dryness, everything. So it's called hardy. All right, so easy to stay, easy to live. And then it can live on dry land. They can even a poor soil, not very nutrient, all right, not a lot of nutrient, so no problem for them. Sand also, right? Sand is naturally very low nutrient. So what happens is after they stay there, let's say this grass stay there for some time, what happens? They will start to do something to the place. They will start to change the new habitat. They will change the new habitat because you see, when they start to grow there, of course they will start to thrive. They will start to multiply. They become more and more, isn't it? And when they become more and more, right, as they grow older, they will die. So the old plants will die. So when they die, the parts of the plant will decompose. So when they decompose, it becomes larger. It becomes nutrient for the next generation. So it will actually slowly over the years, it will change the soil. It will change the condition. So when that happens, it will make the condition maybe become more suitable for another species to live. That means now, let's say this plant, species A, already stay there for, let's say, 20 years, all right? And they have been slowly changing the condition of the soil. And now the condition of the soil is changing and changing, not so suitable for A anymore. Now it's more suitable for another species, let's say the B, species B. So now species B come along and stay there. And they find that this species B can stay better than species A because it's more suited for this new environment. So this species B is called successor species, the next species that take over. So the species A no longer can do so well. They cannot stay so well because now they're getting less and less and less and less, but B becoming more and more and more and more because now the condition is more suited to B, not suited to A anymore. So that means it's always changing. The environment always changing. It doesn't mean one species stay there forever. All right, it will slowly change. So now you find that these new species that come and stay here, they are called the successor. Successor is, we call it 华语接班这样咯 right? 接班那个人啊 So they come and take over the colonizer. Colonizer is always the first. Successor is the next one. What about the next one? The next one you still call successor. Okay? And the successor got some more successor. Successor means it's the next, the meaning. Right? That's the meaning. Now let's look at what happens in a mangrove ecosystem. You also have colonization and succession. Okay? Now you will see that in the beginning, when you have water, the river, bring in the soil and everything, at first, of course, you don't have many plants in there. So the first species that colonize the area, the first species that stay there will be the Avicennia and Sonoracea. Avicennia and Sonoracea. Okay, so these are we call it the pioneer species. Okay, let me show you this. Now, okay, let me show you this after I show back the picture. So pioneer species, you need to remember the name, Avicennia and Sonoracea. They are, at first, the mangrove swamp is no plants, not inhabited by any tree, nothing, because just form, the place just newly formed. And then what happens is, because more and more of the pasir, the silt, the clodagh, okay, all the mud, they transported by the river upstream, they come down, right? So they more and more will settle down at the estuary, at the kuala. So now the layer of the soil here become thicker and thicker. So the coastal mud is thick enough, okay, to form a new piece of land. So now you got a new piece of land here, okay, a new piece of land here. Now this is the sea. This is the inland. Inland means inside our land, means inner side. Okay, this is the sea. So this area now, you got a lot of mud here. It's exposed low tides, right? You have this Avicennia Sonoracea will start to stay there. So these are the ones that first come. They will be the ones that first come over here. Avicennia Sonoracea. So they become what we call the pioneer because they are the first one who stay there. They are the pioneer species. Okay, so remember, pioneer species, Avicennia and Sonoracea. So there's a slight difference where they occupy. If you look at the area, you see Avicennia Sonoracea, this is the first zone here. Right? Now, you see the area here? I put in different color. For Avicennia, I color in pink color. So they are more towards the estuary. They are more towards the sea here. Okay? Whereas for Sonoracea, they are more facing towards the mouth, the river mouth. So a bit inner. Okay, so Avicennia is a bit nearer to the sea there. The Sonoracea is a bit nearer to the mouth of the river. So here they go. Avicennia grows in the part facing the sea, while Sonoratia grows at the mouth of the river. Now, this could be a question. So take note of the zone here. This will come, I've seen in past year question, especially in objective. They will label A, B, C, D, the zones. Okay, they label this is a A. This is a B. Okay, this is a C. This is a D. And they ask you which areas here you can find the Avicennia and Sonoratia. Okay, or which one you can find the pioneer species. So that's why you need to remember the zonage. We call it the zonation. The zonation is the zone. Okay, so A and B, A is Avicennia further out. Sonoratia a bit nearer inside facing the mouth of the river there. That is the Sonoratia. Okay, now we go to C and D. Now, after A and the Sonoratia and Avicennia stay there for some time, they will change the condition of the soil. How do they change? Okay, let's see here. Now, for this Avicennia and Sonoratia, they both have this. They have this pneumatophore, the asparagus-shaped pneumatophore, and it's sticking out. A lot of this sticking out, right? You saw that I showed you the pictures. Avicennia and Sonoratia, a lot of these things sticking out of the mud there. So it's not easy for you to go there, right? You're gonna get hurt by stepping on it. So these are the things sticking out there. These are called pneumatophores. They take in air, so they are helping to take in oxygen. They also have underground what they call cable roots. So they help to support the plant from toppling over. Okay. Now, so after many years of staying there, these roots will trap mud. So more and more mud will be trapped there. So that means after many years, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 days, after many years, you notice that more and more mud come down from the river, right? The river brings in a lot of mud, brings in a lot. So as time goes by, you find that this layer of soil at the Kuala Sungai becoming more and more thicker and thicker. So more and more mud will accumulate, right? And then the bank means the tebing sungai, the side, is slowly become higher and higher. Because more mud come down, so it's going higher and higher. And now it will be less water, so not so watery, all right, become drier now. Now this condition is no longer suitable for the Avicennia and Sonoratia because it's already changed. Now last time was okay. Avicennia, Sonoratia, they like this kind of condition, very muddy, very soft and all that. But now over the years, the mud all come down already, now become thicker and thicker. As you go higher and higher, it become drier. So now this condition not so suitable for Avicennia and Sonoratia, but now it's more suitable for another type of plant. And this one happens to be Rhizophora. The next species is more suitable to stay there now. So now you can see that when the tebing sungai, or we call it the bank, becomes drier, you notice that you don't see the Avicennia Sonoratia anymore. You will, on the other hand, see the Rhizophora. So the second zonage here, the zonation here, you will see because it's higher now, right? It's higher, it's drier. The soil is not so suited for Avicennia Sonoratia, but it's more suited for Rhizophora. So you can see here, this second zone here is many more, you can see more of this Rhizophora, not Avicennia Sonoratia. So you can see here, now here, the yellow one, I put Rhizophora. Now that is the zone of the Rhizophora. You find it's further inside, not so near to the sungai, not too near to the sea. It's further inside. Okay, that's a Rhizophora zone. Okay. Now, after that, you see the Rhizophora has got what kind of adaptation? You will see it has this, prop roots, right? Where is it? Prop, cannot write anymore. Yes, prop roots. And the prop roots actually grip the soil, and they also trap mud. They can trap mud. Okay, so the adaptation here, let's go to adaptation first. Now the zone is higher now, less watery. Less watery means drier. The prop roots will support and anchor the tree in the soft, muddy soil. It also has a viviparous seeds. That means they're able to grow while still attached to the parent plant. So enable the seed will not be washed away by the water, okay, by the seawater. These prop roots are able to trap mud. Right? So after many years, you find that the layer of mud here becomes thicker and thicker and taller, right? The soil here becomes higher, the ground becomes higher. And at the same time, of course, old trees will also die. So when they die, they also drop there, and also they get decomposed. You will get nutrient, and the soil also, the layer of soil becomes higher. So now the banks are raised even higher, and the soil becomes less soggy, become drier, more fertile, and less saline, means less salty. Not so salty because it's not so near the sea now. It's a bit more inland already. Okay, so the soil is harder and drier. Now it's no longer so suitable for rhizophora. But on the other hand, this condition is more suitable for another species which we call Bruguiera. Okay, so now in this area now is a bit higher already because the many years of trapping the mud and so on. So you can see this zone. This one is the Bruguiera, where the soil becomes a bit more higher. It's not so low already. So this one now, Bruguiera can live there better. So you will see less of rhizophora but more Bruguiera. So as you see this land here, this zonation, Bruguiera is found further inland. So D is your Bruguiera. Okay, D is your Bruguiera. Your C is your rhizophora. Then the Sonoratia is B here, and your Avicennia is A here. So you have to memorize the zonation because you have seen it in questions before. Okay, they ask you A, B, C, D, which one is which one. So memorize Avicennia, Sonoratia, Rhizophora, Bruguiera. Okay, you keep on memorizing now, it won't be a problem to you exam time. Okay, whatever you learn, start to memorize it now. Don't wait for exams. Okay, so now you have this Bruguiera. They live there and they have their own adaptation. They have what we call the buttress roots. The roots here are they look like circuitole like that, one big bulge like that. So it looks like, knee shape. You see the knee shape? It looks like a knee. Can you see here? I think it's big enough, right? Now you can see the knee-shaped pneumatophore. They also take in oxygen from the air. They have lenticel there, and you have this buttress roots is very wide, so to give support. Okay, so here you have say the adaptation. Every species you must say the adaptation. What is the special feature they have to enable them to stay in this area? They have buttress roots for support and knee-shaped pneumatophore. The pneumatophore is not it's not like that. This one is only for Avicennia and Sonoratia. So the ones that go up sharp like that, that one is for Avicennia Sonoratia. That is for the pneumatophore. But for here, it is knee-shaped. The pneumatophore is knee-shaped. So these buttress roots there, all right, at the same time, also they trap more and more mud. The same story goes, the same story repeats itself. So as more and more longer time, right, more and more mud come down from the river there, you find the mud will be trapped more, and then the silt is a chloride. We gradually will change the land structure, become more and more solid, become more and more drier. Okay, become drier. So now the area becomes higher. It's no longer very near the sea already. Okay, so now this condition changes. It's now more suited for another group, not Bruguiera. It's more suited for plants like palm trees. I'll show you the word nipa, pokok nipa. In BM, it's called pokok nipa, but actually in genus name is NYPA, nipa. I'll show you the picture first. Pandan, you know pandan? Pandan is a plant that we use for always in our cooking one to smell, make the tong sui, make the, all the nyonya kueh. The pandan plant, yes, called pandanus. These are the better suited to stay here now after the Bruguiera. Okay, so here I show you the pictures. Where are the pictures? Sorry, where did it go? Sorry, wait, here. Now this is nipa, pokok nipa. It is called a mangrove palm. It looks like a palm tree, but it's not the palm tree that we have in our, inland. The leaves look like palm, but actually it's a mangrove palm. We call nipa fruticans. Okay, so this is now further in after Bruguiera. Okay, so first is Avicennia, then Sonoratia, then Rhizophora, then Bruguiera. After the Bruguiera, nowadays, now this area is actually inland already. Okay, you have nipa and pandanus. All right, okay, so let's look at this nipa. Yeah. So now is nipa and pandanus, which are a lot already at this area. So after many years, you find that this will be displaced by other plants. So other land trees will grow, and slowly you find the tree becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and looks like the trees that we have in our forests, in our tropical rainforest. So after many years, you find the area is no longer becoming, it's no longer a koala sungai. It becomes inland already. So and then we have the normal trees growing already. Okay, and that tree is, if you leave it, it'll become a rainforest, a tropical rainforest. And this is called climax community. Climax community means that it doesn't change anymore. In Malaysia, because our climate is tropical climate, right? So the climate community in Malaysia is actually the tropical rainforest. You are not going to change into something else already. You're going to have your tropical rainforest in the jungle of Malaysia. Okay, you have the Meranti, you have all these pokok keruing, all the jati, all the big trees, right? That is the tropical rainforest. They already achieved community climate, means no longer changes. It will become stable. There's no other species that will come and take over your pokok Meranti and pokok cengau, all that don't have. This is already the dominant species in our community. Okay, and how long does it take for it to change from something no trees? Remember, we started off with no trees, right? It was a bare ground until now become a hutan hujan tropica. How many years does it take for it to change? It takes many years. Okay, so I researched and I found out actually it takes about at least 100 years for an empty ground. Empty ground, that means nothing, it's clean, just no plant at all. You wait for it about more than 100 years later, it will become a forest. Okay, and that is the climax community. In Malaysia, it will be a tropical rainforest. If in Russia, okay, let's say in taiga or Siberia, are different lah. There's not tropical rainforest. Their climax community will be the taiga. Taiga is the kind of the forest they have there. Okay, in USA, you have prairie. They have different. In Africa, you have savanna. This Africa, that is a different kind of forest. So in Malaysia, we have tropical rainforest, which will be considered, we call it no longer changing. So it's already called constant already. No longer changing, it's already stable. Okay, so that is the changing that you see. So the changing is called the succession. One species being taken over by another species is called succession. Succession means take over. Colonization is the first one. The first one to stay in a place is called colonization. Okay, the process. So remember these words. Colonization is a process. Succession is also process. Colonization is process of taking over the place for the first time. Succession is taking over the place by taking over another species. That means you push another species away. That is called succession. So these two are process. Colonizer is the first plant that come and stay there. Successor is the next plant that take over the plant. It's called successor. And subsequently is also called successor. Okay, successor, and so on until you get what? Okay, until successor. You go through many rounds, right? Successor, until you get your climax community, which is your tropical rainforest. If you're talking about Malaysia, Indonesia, Brazil, and all that, this is our tropical rainforest. We call it climax community. Are going through after a few rounds of succession. Okay, climax community. Okay, now let's go on. Just one more part. We learn about what is the importance of ecosystem. All right, our mangrove ecosystem. Now the nearest place we can see our ecosystem is this mangrove. Very famous place here, Kuala Sepetang. Kuala Sepetang, very near Taiping there. We have a lot of this charcoal factory. They make the charcoal. It's not the coal that we dig from the ground. This is man-made man-made charcoal, right? They use the mangrove trees to make the charcoal. Okay, so let's see what is the importance, right? Now this is your NIPA. Okay, I show already. Now, importance of mangrove ecosystem. It is a protection zone. It's a natural barrier, okay, against strong waves and so on. So the first thing that gets hit by the strong wave will be your mangrove trees, because they are we call it frontliners, okay? We can call it like frontliners. They are the first plants that are actually between the sea and the land. So they are the mangrove trees. So they will absorb the impact from the wind, from the tsunami, all right? So they are the ones that absorb the impact. So they are natural barrier. They will resist the impact from the wind. So they are the first, they will say, we call it tangzhu, okay? They will menghalang. So this is also a protected site. It's a habitat for shrimps, fish, and crabs, and a lot of lala and all that. These clams We also farm, we also get from there. Some of them are naturally, some of them we breed, we actually plant them, or we actually breed them. But these some we get from the market, right? They are called natural, they live there naturally. Okay, they are also preserved areas for certain types of birds, migratory birds. Migratory birds, that means birds they will migrate throughout their life during the season. One year they will go, maybe summer they go one place, and then winter they go to another place. All right, they call migratory birds. Birds that do not stay there for good. They will go from place to place. Okay, fishery. Over there you have, I show pictures of street of crabs, of lala, and all that. Is a place, a source of income for the fishermen. So that people actually farm, not farming, are hunting for crab in the mud there. All right, just they just look for crab. Maybe they eat it themselves, or they can sell it to the market. Okay, it's a source of income for the nelayan and people. All right. So there are also the wetlands here are conducive for fish rearing. So sometimes they also they will rear fish near the pier there, the bakau there, all right? So it's for breeding for commercial species to sell for money, right? Forestry. You find that the mangrove woods can be also to build the boats, the kayu balak, not kayu balak, the kayu of the pokok api, pokok berepat, all these are, we take the wood from there and we can use it to make things. Okay, you also make it for charcoal. Just I mentioned the Kuala Sepetang, there are a lot of factories that are making charcoal from the mangrove trees. Okay, they really cut down the trees and they bring it into their factories and they put it inside the oven there for almost, if I went there before, I went there and I went to the tilang. They put inside the kiln there or the oven there for almost 20 over days, and it becomes black at the end of it. That's why you can get the arang kayu. Okay, they put it inside there and then they take it out, it becomes black. Then you can sell it as a fuel, as the to light up your fire. Okay, they can also use it to make handicrafts. You can carve things in front of the wood there. There's also food and medicinal values. Right, the fruit can be used as vegetables. Right, it seems here. Nut can be used, can be boiled and eaten for the Avicennia. The fruit of Sonoratia can be used for production of drinks. The fruit of Nipa is just not a palm there, is it? You can eat, you can drink there, right? Production of vinegar and nira. Right, nira is the substance you get from the pokok Nipa, right? Then bark of Brugira can be used to treat diarrhea. Diarrhea is the penyakit taun, right? You have diarrhea means you go to the toilet many times a day and then you vomit and all that. So it also has got antioxidant and antimicrobial properties, can be used as medicine, right, to treat certain things. Okay, filters and so pollutants, they also absorb pollutants, right? You can also filter. So it's good for the environment to have these kind of plants staying there, these mangrove plants. Climate regulation, as with all green plants or plants where I can carry out photosynthesis, they will absorb carbon dioxide, right, from the air, and in turn they produce oxygen. So it helps with the climate, right? It helps to cool down the temperature and also reduce the concentration of carbon dioxide from the air. Okay? And so it also prevents or reduces greenhouse effect. We can't prevent it, but it will reduce the greenhouse effect and also global warming. Okay, so this is the importance of mangrove swamps. Okay, this is not so important, but more important is I expect questions like adaptation of the plants. You have to remember the 4 different species, okay, and all these points, how to say how it helps, okay, the viviparasites and all that, the cable roots, the pneumatophores and all that. Okay, so that is what I want to show you today, the lesson. So we have done with mangrove ecosystem. It's not too difficult because you've seen it in chapter 7, just a little bit more of detail with the names on it. So do not forget to remember the names. This one you can just read through, is what I've just mentioned to you. You can see this coastal area, you will have these 2. All right, Avicennia sonoratia. Then further upland, when it's a bit drier, you will have majority is Rhizophora. Then after that, more drier inland, going inland already, then you have Brugira. After that will be Nipa and Pandanus. Okay, these are the, here, Nipa and Pandanus. This is after the Brugira. Okay. All right, okay, so this is what I want to let you know lah. Right, I hope if any questions you can ask me in class next week. All right, so that's why I want you to go through this and I will discuss questions with you in the next lesson. okay, so that we will not waste so much time just explaining this. We will be doing questions. Okay, so I think there's no more questions here. There are no questions here. All right. So please tell your friends to watch this video, right? Because this is quite important, the facts here. And remember, let them watch before the next class. For those students out there, all right, you can share my video, but please share them as a link lah. Okay, don't download the video. Just share it as a link so that you can give credit to me lah, because I made the video. All right, so don't download it. All right, I just hope that you can use it. You can share it to your friend and just share the link. Okay, so I will see you in my next lesson. All right, okay, so bye bye everyone. Okay, keep safe. All right, have a nice weekend and bye bye. See you.